And I have my little list. Hey, everybody. Welcome to There's No Crying in Crochet. This is the podcast where we take your everyday frustrations and we try to give you some answers. And we also like to bring up various different topics in the crochet world to talk about. And that's what we're going to do today, but we'll get to that in just a minute. It is Friday, the 7th of June. Yes. And welcome, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful week. Let's go ahead and get the business out of the way. Oh, wait. You know, I even have it on here. Introductions. I have to make a list for myself. Hi, I'm Biz from Busy
I would think
Crochet.
they know us by now, but yes, you're Biz from Busy Crochet. I am Deb from Madam's. I almost said Debbie Stitch. MadameStitch.
Crochet.
Clearly, it's Friday this week. Just saying.
Wow.
We're off to a great start.
Oh my God, yeah. All right, so now let's do the business part. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you give us a follow. We are trying to upload new content all of the time to create stitch tutorials and things of that nature, as well as things that are relative to the crochet world. So I'm busy at Busy Crochet, and she is at Madame Stitch Crochet on YouTube. And if you are streaming on Facebook and joining us there, try to give StreamYard the right to see your name from Facebook. All we know is that they're just making it so we can see who's saying hi. That's all we know at the point. So, hopefully they're not doing anything otherwise. Of course, if you're on Facebook, they already have all of your information anyway. Anyway, I know, isn't that true? I've got this new light and I'm not in the shadows anymore. It's like, wow.
It's fabulous, Biz. Looking great.
Beautiful. All righty. So, Debbie, tell me what's up this week.
Man, you know what? We just steamrolled right into the first week of June. I swear 2024 was supposed to be let's just dial it back a little bit and, it's going to be chill. Holy cow, not even close. But I digress. This week, last week of school for the grandkids, I pick them up from school twice a week and they hang out with me Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. I run them all over the valley to their various and sundry activities. And the end of school, as most parents know, is insanity. Yeah. So we managed to get some of that. But my younger grandson, who's almost 12, is in the majors in the Little League in the valley, and his team made the playoffs. Now
that's so exciting.
Yeah, so exciting. So he, his first game was Tuesday night. All of them are close by. So my husband and I have been regulars at his game.
Mm-hmm.
They won Tuesday night. So they had a game Wednesday night. My husband and I opted out because there's an app that shows you all the action. It's not a video, but shows you all the action. So we stayed home because the weather was iffy and all of that kind of stuff. They made the championship game yesterday. And it started at 8:00, which is nearly my bedtime. But we went, we powered through. It was a beautiful night for baseball. And I'll be darned if those guys didn't win.
That is so cool.
They are champions. Gabe was so excited. He was just about to float up into the sky. It was crazy.
Oh, I bet.
But, lots of baseball this week, lots of running the kids around, lots of work stuff that was kind of urgent. And today I'm doing this sigh of relief going, it's done. Yeah. So what about you, Miss Biz? What about you?
Oh gosh. I'm kind of busy like that. Only just within the house because we've been getting the baby room ready for Stephanie, who's due in August, but she's gonna be moving in with us in July so that we can help with the baby and stuff. And so we're trying to get all of our junk out of. Have you ever had to empty out a room in your house to make space for somebody else?
Okay, a fun story is we would always have a 4-bedroom house, right? The 4th bedroom was always let's throw it in there, we'll deal with it later. And when we had our 3rd child, we went, oh whoops, just kidding. Oops.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So now we are trying to figure out where are we going with all of this stuff. I mean, there's a little bit of
Yeah.
stuff left over from Teal when was living here. So we've got to take down some bookshelves and move his books over to his apartment and things like that. But like her older furniture, which was made by my dad, is a little bit too chunky to fit in the space. So we needed to order some newer furniture for her so that, she could fit and the baby and
Mhm.
all of the baby stuff. And oh Lord Jesus, there's just so much crap. And so yeah, that's what we're doing. But other than that, I got myself signed up for college. I have applied. Yes, my
Yes,
transcripts have
yes!
been transferred over. I just have to contact them to find out, okay, now what's next? Because I'm a little bit, rusty on the whole going to college thing. But yeah, I have decided and made it official. I am going back to school for graphic design this year.
That is awesome, and I've already
On
decided,
top of a
for those
baby.
of you listening, I'm gonna use Biz. I'm gonna use her newfound skills in Madam Stitch, so just
That's
saying.
awesome. Yes, and I'm excited because okay, send up a little prayer with me that all of my gen eds from my first associate's degree are going to transfer over and knock out everything I need for this one because I'll tell you what, I do not want to take math again. I would rather not take English and I would rather skip all of the humanities and the social sciences and all that extra stuff I had to take for my last one. I've done it all. Hopefully it all just transfers over and knocks them out. So, let's fingers crossed. That's what we're hoping for.
Well, I
Um,
wish you well. I did my master's degree in my 40s, so I know exactly what you're
mm.
it's like, I don't remember how to take a test.
Oh God, yes, I'm not looking forward to that. I
No,
will say this
but
though, my first associate's degree, I mean, I don't have, like fancy masters or bachelors or anything, and then I might go for a bachelor's when I get this second associate's degree. But my first one, I was all online and I went through University of Phoenix. It was great. They had amazing math labs, all this stuff. Like I did really well. But I was really geared up for going back to school, you know what I mean? And being in
mhm.
school. And this time it's going to be mostly at a campus. I haven't been on a college campus
Oh, wow.
in 30
Cool.
years or more. God, how old am I? 52. So 34 years is the last time I stepped foot on a college campus to go to school.
You know what though,
Yeah.
Biz? What I discovered was that I so much more appreciated the classes I was taking. I was more engaged. I wasn't doing it just to get through it because
Mm,
I needed the degree. It meant so much
right?
more to me, and I had all of my life experience to bring into the classroom,
Yeah.
and that was
Yeah.
really cool, really cool.
I think that's going to make a big difference for me as well. So I'm a little bit excited about this. It's going to be a lot, but I have dreams and goals and things. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to get to the end of my life and say, I wish I would have. I'm going to go out and
No?
do it. That's just all there is
Yep.
to it.
Very
All
nice,
right.
very
So
nice.
we're going to talk about this week's topic. Oh, well, no, we're not. I'm accidentally screwed up. No, that's not right now. Hold on. Hold on.
We're doing that later.
I'm out of sync. I was trying to do some stuff earlier. Yes, and I got everything all mixed up. So
There it
today we're going to be
is.
talking about the significance of men in crochet. Yes, this is this week's
This
subject.
is such a
And
cool
the reason we
subject.
went ahead with it really is. We're kind of making the month of June about men because Father's Day in America falls in that month. And so we thought, let's talk about men in crochet because they're a great subject. And so we want to really tackle what is it to be a man in crochet? And so, of course, we're female, so we can't really speak to that aspect of it. But at the end of the month, we are going to be having a live conversation with a male crocheter who is in the industry, and it'll be fun conversation
Yeah.
so we can find out right from the
Yeah.
horse's mouth.
Yeah.
All right. So, first thing is men, and in the history of crochet, they were kind of the first ones to use crocheting techniques. So I know you've done quite a bit of research on this kind of stuff. So what did they do with
Well,
it?
I did a little bit. It was interesting, when we think of crochet and knitting, the fiber arts, we automatically think of women. We're sort of
Mm,
stereotyped. They're stereotyped skills. When in fact, it seems that back in the day when you couldn't just go to the store and buy a fishnet, or you were out on the boat and you needed a hat, you needed to do it yourself, and there weren't women on the boat with you to make it for you.
right.
So men had to become adept at mending their own nets, and um, they would actually make beanies and sweaters and those kinds of things that were resistant against the wind and the rain, um, because that's how they survived out on those long journeys. And so they
Mhm,
developed crochet techniques that helped them with that. Their tools were
mhm.
primitive, I'm sure. I even read somewhere where they might have a crochet hook, but if they didn't, they used a bent piece of wire as
Oh,
their
wow.
tool, right? So they
Yeah.
were very creative with all of it. And back decades, centuries ago, when they were crocheting, they used what they had. They repurposed things. They would, talk about frogging today.
Yeah.
We get really upset when we have to frog something that we bought the yarn from our favorite yarn shop.
Yeah.
Think about taking an old sweater that you can't use anymore, frogging that baby and
Yeah.
making a new one. I mean, they were very purposeful with their materials and with their tools. And it wasn't until the 19th century that women started to get in on the act, because knitting was the way women
Mhm.
expressed their fiber art. Men actually used crochet in their businesses.
So we have a comment from Beck here that says, "Oh my God, they crocheted nets." So yes, they used a hook, like a crochet hook, and it was a series of knots that later were translated
Yep.
into what we know as crochet now.
Did read that a lot of it looked like slip stitches, and
Mm,
actually, if you think about, we talked about market bags a couple weeks ago. Produce bags where you have the mesh, it looks like it's just one floppy piece of nothing, and it holds heavy
mhm,
fruit. That's
mhm.
actually probably pretty close to what they would do,
Yeah,
with the nets, a series of, it's interesting you say knots, sailor's knots,
mhm.
those kinds of things that would be close to crochet, but maybe something a little bit
Right,
modified.
right.
Yeah.
Um, there speaking of before we move on from this part of it, because actually right now we're talking about the brief history of crochet. We're gonna move into that real quick. But there was a book that I read one time about a prairie family that the mom wanted to make her kids needed new mittens or a hat or something like that. So she deconstructed the sweater she wore and that happened so often because your supplies were so limited. And
Yep.
so you were saying that they frogged things to make other things, uh, you know talking about World War II, because we're going to talk about that in a minute, because that's really where
Uh-huh.
women came on in and started doing a lot of the things that men used to take care of. um, uh, but it was very common to repurpose and reuse, and
Mhm.
we've really gotten away from that in our throwaway society.
Yeah, consumerism and the availability. It used to be also that the the materials just weren't available, so you had to make do with what
Hmm.
you had. A lot of people raised
Absolutely.
sheep, so they had wool. They would actually spin their own wool and that sort of thing. We don't
Right.
have those capabilities, desires, and everything is so readily available to us that we
Mhm.
don't understand the idea of repurposing like they used to.
Right. And our society now is so everything's provided for us. There's an industry that
Mhm.
creates the yarn. There's an industry that
Yep.
takes care of, doing the whole carding of the wool and all of that stuff. I mean, it's a stinky, messy job, but nobody
Ooh,
really
yeah,
thinks about where it comes from. I grew up on a farm. That's the
yeah.
only reason why I know about the smells. But yeah, everybody looks at a sheep and they go, "Oh my gosh, they're so fluffy and cute." They're really gross, actually.
They're they're very
They
gross.
smell
I've
really
not
bad.
been around they do.
The
So you
lanolin that
have
is in
to
the wool is extremely greasy and smell, oh my word in heaven. So, yeah. Oh, we digress quickly. So yeah, we were going to talk about the brief history of crochet and World War II and where the ladies started to kind of hop in on this and because they had to.
Right, yeah, they had to because the men were all fighting the wars, and because it spanned a number of years, they were fighting these wars in cold and warm climates.
Mhm.
Um, I think that might be when some of the societies, in fact, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a seaman society, SEAMEN apostrophe
Mhm.
S society that makes hats for those who are off serving or, in the Navy or whatever, or on boats and that sort of thing, and that's when you started to see women come in the picture because men started to see it as a domestic
Mhm.
activity, and the way it was one of the ways that women could contribute during the war
Right.
by
Right.
supplying garments and scarves and
Taking care of our
hats.
men overseas kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. And that actually really came back in style because it fell off for a while. I don't ever remember growing up hearing about making hats and cowls and things of that nature for military people until the Desert War started in the
Mhm.
early 90s and all through, of course, the 2000s. It's become common practice to you've got groups of people that you can send your donations to. You can make
Right.
hats and you can make cowls, you can make socks, all kinds of things.
Blankets,
Yes.
blankets as well. Yeah.
Yes.
And some of those websites have patterns on them, free patterns on
Mhm.
them. So,
Yes.
there are resources for you if that's something that appeals to you. But that was during
Mhm.
I think a lot of it what came to be during particularly during World War II.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's what I read as well. All right, so we covered a real brief history of crochet, but we're going to start talking about male crochet artists now. And we're going to kind of run through a list that we've collected of ones that we know of personally. We either follow them or we've heard of them, we've seen their work, that kind of stuff. Just to kind of give you an idea of different people that, like, just like girls, we are all very different.
mhm.
Men don't aren't just because you're a male artist doesn't mean you're making male things, you know? So let's see. I'm gonna start with well, one of the ones that I know the best and probably is one of the most recognizable males crocheters on the market right now would be Jonah Larson. He is the
Mhm.
15-year-old kid from lacrosse, which, I almost kind of claim him as a prior Wisconsinite, and I grew up actually an hour and a half northwest of Lacrosse. So it holds a special place in my heart, and a lot of family live in that area. But he's become very, very popular because he was so young when he started. I think in his bio, he says that he was 5 when he learned, and by 9, he was getting recognized for how fast he
Mhm.
was and how proficient he was. And now he's 15 and he is, what did I write down about him? I made little lists here. Um, he is a huge philanthropist and he's got an organization called Jonah's Hands. It's also his business name. But
Mhm.
he was adopted from, mm, I think it was Ethiopia. I didn't mark that down, but from one of the countries in Africa. And so he goes back there as often as he can. He's given to the village where he was, born. He's given like he just does amazing things with his work. And his is very much about giving back to society.
That's really cool.
And
Really
I
cool.
it is quite admirable. And we'll actually talk about him a little bit more at the end. But who are some other ones that you have?
Oh gosh, I just discovered this guy a couple days ago, because I
Mhm.
was searching on Instagram just trying to see what was out there, and I found, I think his business name is Crochet by Calvin, but his name is Calvin Lee. He looks
Okay.
to be maybe in his 20s,
Mhm.
and he crochets granny stitch shirts, but they're tailored shirts
Oh,
and
nice.
cardigans and granny squares.
Mhm.
Um, the tail with a collar, a button placard, detailing on the sleeves that makes it look like you purchased a short sleeve shirt from Macy's. Um, it's I would never be able to do that with granny stitch, so I applaud this guy. They're really cool. But, what drew me to him is he doesn't do anything funky with his reels. Most of his reels are just him sitting on the train. He's commuting somewhere. I think he lives in New York City, and he's always crocheting. So, he has a video taken, and he just pulls those together, that B-roll together, and makes a reel. And I was looking today, Biz and I were looking before we started. People ask him
Yeah.
if he's knitting too. So men suffer from the same questions we do. It's hilarious. And he said, no, he is not knitting.
Yes. Yes.
He is crocheting. But his stuff
Yes.
is really
It
worth a look see because I think women could wear them too.
Oh, yeah, my gosh. Those last 2 sweaters that you showed me,
Mhm.
I've seen women wearing sweaters like that. They're
Yeah,
beautiful, and they're just your
yeah, they
basic
were
granny
absolutely gorgeous.
square cardigan.
It was an
They're
oversized
really, really
cardigan.
nice.
Yeah, they were very cool.
Mhm.
Um,
Um,
let's see. We all know the crochet dude, right? What
yeah.
Drew
Yep.
Amborski,
Drew and
right?
Borsky.
Um,
Yep.
and Mikey from the Crochet Crowd. We know those guys.
Yep.
Um, one of
And I've
the
been following Drew and Borsky since, like, 2008. He was one of the first men that I ever saw crochet.
but he crochets for not just well, not really for men. He crochets for women and for gender neutral, right?
Yes, he does, and quite honestly, when he started out, he was one of the like, he just like a lot of crochet designers start with just like, "Oh, I'm making whatever is on my heart today," kind of thing. He didn't really have a niche, and I've watched over the years where he's now very much a crochet, like, teacher, and
Mm,
he works within the crochet industry doing videos and things like that. I wanna say, and I could be completely off base here, but, like, Knit and Crochet Now, he has
yeah,
something to
he
do with,
does.
like, the Annie's team.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I watched him in that show.
yeah, and so he's really come quite a ways since he started in the early 2000s. But even Mikey, like Mikey's another one from the crochet crowd. He's Canadian and he has a huge following. I mean, but
Yeah.
all of his stuff, he just started just making these tutorials of things that he loved to make. And he now works for and with the Yarnspirations yarn team,
Mm,
which is a Canadian
oh,
based
yeah.
company as well.
Really cool.
But he teaches
I also
everything.
had you know Martin up north, right?
Yeah, and I
And
was so wrong the last time I said he's from the Netherlands. He's from Sweden.
oh, I remember when you said that. Um,
Yeah.
he does, home decor, doesn't he?
He does okay, so he's hard to explain. He doesn't really fit in a box. He does home decor, he does garmentry, but like cowls and shawls mostly and hats. So I haven't seen him make a sweater yet, but that's not to say he won't. He's very
Right.
adventurous with what he does, but he's really technical. His stuff is very, very vibrant and very, very detailed. He does a lot of
Mhm.
mosaic and entrelac and I may be saying that completely wrong, and Tunisian. He's very, very if you're looking for stuff that's gonna challenge you. His is very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Masculine. His designs are very masculine. Very much reaching towards, like, the pirate, in you. So, that kind of stuff. And he's not bad to look at. He's kind of on the cute side. So,
Gonna say,
Yeah. But
Um, there was a comment left on my YouTube channel last week episode that the person said their favorite male crocheters were the cocky crocheter and club crochet. So I looked them
mhm.
up. The cocky crocheter, oh my gosh. Okay, so cables used to be you didn't touch them unless you knit because they just didn't look right. But that technique has been perfected in the world of crochet and has become quite the art. And I looked at
Yeah.
his stuff, garments with detailed cables, gorgeous
Wow.
stuff. Yeah, really gorgeous stuff. And
Gonna have to look
club
him up then.
crochet is amigurumi, does
Mhm.
some simple amigurumi. So that might be something to check out. Yeah, all
Um,
running the gamut here.
yeah, definitely. And speaking of somebody else who does amigurumi, who is also very big on the scene right now, is Vincent Green. I don't know how do you say his name?
I don't know his last name. Do you?
I don't. Hang on. He's on here. He's on here.
Oh, I'll look him up. Let
Height.
me see if I can figure it out.
Vincent Green Height. Not bad. He
Yeah.
came on the
Okay.
scene, I want to say, gosh, and I'm terrible with time, probably 7 or 8 years ago, maybe 10 now.
He's a young
And
guy.
he is very much, he started with amigurumi. Like that was all he did. He started with like Pokemon amigurumi.
Mhm.
Oddly enough, that's where I started was Pokemon amigurumi. So I like fell in love with him right away.
He also does some really cool scarves and but he
Mhm.
does big chunky
Yeah,
pieces.
and he's moved into into garments, and his is very much
Mhm.
gender neutral as well, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit um it's a little bit bigger. I think he uses
Okay.
thicker yarns and that sort of thing. I don't watch his stuff a lot, but
Mhm.
he's very engaging. I can't remember the style of music. It's not punk.
Oh no, he
Everything is
listens to heavy
done
metal.
that okay, there it is. And
Yeah,
all of his
it's like
videos have
death
heavy
metal.
metal. So
Another reason I
he's
love him because I know I don't look like it, but heavy metal is one of my favorite kinds of music.
are you a I can't believe you're a metalhead. Wow.
Yes, I know, I know. You never knew
Oh
that
my
about me,
gosh.
did you?
Oh my gosh.
I do have
You
a
learn something.
secret. I have a secret. Can
Do
you guess
tell.
which male clothing designer started out as a crocheter?
Ooh, this is a trivia quiz. Ah, is this someone who's currently designing male stuff?
No, he doesn't
Really?
design male things. He designs for women, but he's very popular. Like, oh my god, popular.
Okay, well, the only one I can think of right now is Ralph Lauren,
No,
but
it's I'm just gonna spit it out because I don't want to hurt anybody's brains. Michael Kors.
oh, yeah, 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 Kors, yes.
Yes, he
Oh
apparently,
my
and see,
gosh.
I don't have any of his stuff. My daughter is a Michael Kors fan, but when in my research, he popped up. He started out as a crocheter, and
That's
he
awesome.
actually has some crochet bags that he's made. Isn't that
Mhm.
crazy? Because like that's what he's known for.
That is really,
Dawn,
really cool.
AC/DC,
Oh,
yeah, I'm a Metallica
they're
girl.
sorry, Dawn and Biz, but AC/DC, not my jam, not my jam. Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Oh, too funny. And then of course there's people like Stephen West. He's mostly a knitwear
Mhm,
designer, but he is a male fiber arts artist. And there's a man named Charles Both, which is the stitch stud. And he started out mostly as an artist where he was doing like installation-y kind of stuff. And he's
mhm.
moved into mostly just menswear designs. So he's worth looking up if you're looking for people who design for men. Alrighty. So that's our little list of male crochet designers. I know there's a lot more out there.
There
Believe me,
ton,
there's so
and
many.
I'm so glad they're starting to pop up on my Instagram feed. One other one, and he's not I don't know if he crochets or knits, but the Yarn Whisperer is an indie
Yeah.
dyer. Yeah, and
Yes,
his
I know he
yarns
knit.
are gorgeous.
Yeah. Because I follow him on Instagram, and a lot of times he will do like stitch oh my god, I don't even know what the word is. It's not a tutorial, but a little so that you can see his yarn. He
Oh,
does
gauge
a small
swatch.
sample.
A swatch. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. And so he knits, and I don't know if he crochets, but I know he knits. Alrighty.
Well,
We're gonna talk a little bit about modern day male crochet. And what does that mean? Um, Crocheting for males, because, you know, a lot of times people go, oh gosh, it's so girly. Except that really it's not. When you're looking at fashion from an anybody can really wear it kind of standpoint, what does that mean for modern day male crochet? And if anybody has anything that you want to um, say about that, like what does it mean to you when we talk about modern day male crochet?
gosh, I
Oh,
think
Nessa is asking. She's asking if there's gonna be a
oh,
link to all the channels of these crocheters.
mm,
I will go through and we'll get them in the descriptions. It won't be probably right away after, but we will by in a day or 2, just
we'll
so
at
that you
least
guys
have a
can
list
find
of the
all of
designers
these
that
men
we've
again.
talked
Yeah.
about because it's a simple search on,
Mhm,
Google search or a search on social
mhm.
media, and all of these men pop up. So it's not hard to find them. Um, I think
Yeah, they
male
are really simple
designers
to find.
bring a unique perspective to how they view design because um, guys just have a different way of looking at the purpose of clothing. So they
They
have different
do.
features to them. Um, I don't think they're as um, afraid to try new things as we are. I think they're
Mm,
much more
mhm.
adventuresome with their choices and with their techniques, at least from what I've seen. And they are wholeheartedly unapologetic when it comes to showcasing what they come up with. I think the garments they come up with are so unique, especially
Yes.
when you talk about accessories that could be purposed for either for any gender type, and a lot of
Mhm.
it has to do with the fibers that they choose, the weight of yarn that they choose, um, taking the stitches kind of outside the box. They just
Yes,
kind of stretch the
yes.
boundaries a little bit.
Mhm. Well, and I'm just gonna use Martin up north as an example, and I know I talk about him a lot, but my mind is blown by him because I've been watching since he kind of came on the scene and was like, "Hey, I crochet." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. And you're cute." I won't say that again. But I have a thing for guys with beards and tattoos. I'm sorry.
We're
But
both happily married, so that's okay. We can
very.
say this.
And I have one with a beard and tattoos, so I'm not looking, but he is a cute guy. Anywho, so I've been watching him as he is like he learned how to mosaic crochet, and then all of a sudden it was like everything that he made was mosaic crochet. And then it was, "Oh my god, what are you doing with mosaic crochet? Holy cow." And the stuff that he was putting out is like, "Oh my god." And I don't know if he's got some kind of an engineering background or how his mind works, but he makes and Beck has a comment
Yep,
here that says there's so much engineering involving crochet.
yep,
I love it. And
yep.
so it makes me wonder, like, do because when I am designing a pattern, I see it, I see the end, I see what I want it to look like. But I don't see that kind of stuff, and I don't even
Yeah,
know, like, how do you get the bend? Okay, so it's not just the bend, but he does geometric, um, stuff that, like, has decreases in spots that you go, "Wait a minute, that shouldn't work there, that how does that work?" His is just it is mind-blowing to look at some of his stuff, it's just crazy. But
yeah,
I think that's one of those things where, like, men and women, we really do have different brains, and yes, there are some very, 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 you know, crisp, logical thinking women who are very, they can do all the boxes and all of that stuff, but a lot of us are more artistic in our brains where we're like, "There's so much going on up here, it all has to kinda," And men are very compartmented, many of them. And
Yeah.
it makes me wonder, like, does that affect the way that they are able to look at this piece and just go, I'm going to break it down like this, and this, and boom, there we have it.
Yeah, it has to be part of it, yeah, especially when you're talking about an intricate technique like mosaic.
Yes.
It is on its basic level, it's very simple, but, an example is last year when I did my granny stitch sampler blanket, one of the women, Juniper and Oaks, Erin of Juniper and Oaks, is a
Mhm.
mosaic expert, and she did
Yeah.
a granny square in mosaic, and I looked at that thing and went, "Holy cow, how did you even think that up?" So there are
Yes.
ways to bend the rules to make these incredible creations.
Yes. And as far as like male art in crochet, I do believe that it helps me to see what men are putting out because in my mind, I go, oh, it has to be this and it has to be that because that's what I see in like fashion out there,
Right?
you know.
Yep.
But when they're thinking about what they want to wear, they're like, it just needs to be simple and practical. And I'm going, "Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, simple and practical," because you know how my brain works. It goes and so, a lot of times I'll look at stuff that men are designing and I go, "Gosh, that's just really sedate, really understated," but it's very, very nice, you know, and it's very classic in its style, and it helps me to see what they're doing, going, "I can
Mhm.
settle down just a little bit."
Yeah, a lot of it is tailored,
Yeah.
which we don't do a lot of. We do more flowing, that sort of it's
Mhm.
not to say we're not trying to box them into a
Oh, no,
place,
no, no, not
but
at
I
all.
do believe, I'm just gonna read from my cheat sheet here as far as garments and things are concerned. They often feature bold patterns. I do see that
Mhm,
kind of trend. Unique textures and contemporary fits. But I also think they
mhm,
have a really unique way of taking something that's classic and
mhm,
infusing that contemporary feel on it so it looks very fresh and updated. Um,
mhm.
who would think of crocheting a t-shirt? I mean, women do, but there are some really creative layering pieces that they come up with.
Very, very,
Mhm.
and like you were saying about, the Crochet by Calvin, how he's making a simple granny stitch, but it's a tailored granny stitch.
Tailored shirt.
It fits him perfectly,
I
you know?
know, and I'm so jealous because math is hard. Math is
Math
hard.
is hard. Oh my god. Okay, so quick story. I have this, pattern that I have in testing, and it's my very first garment, right? And so I thought, I'm just gonna do the math. I'm not gonna do all the, you know, because for me, I have to have practical hands on. I've got to work out the stitches so I make sure that my repeats work where they're I thought, no, I'm gonna do it by math. Okay, should have started out by doing the hand thing I normally do, but no. So I won't be doing math by itself again. It is not my jam. All right. We're going to talk real quick about male focused patterns. And we actually have somebody that we're going to be speaking to next week. I don't want to give it away completely. It's kind of a surprise. Um we, we have a guest coming on who has transitioned from doing everybody to doing her focus is on male patterns. And what I wanted to kind of in this small section of this chat that we're having is talk about the fact that in the crochet world, we're just now beginning to see that emphasis
Mhm.
on male focused patterns.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's, definitely personal taste. I know my husband probably wouldn't wear a garment that I crocheted for him, but there are, crochet sweaters and beanies and scarves and things like that are very, very popular. I think it took the crochet world a while to catch up with the knitting world because the knitting world's been doing this for a long, long time. When I first started to crochet, it was basically granny squares and scratchy acrylic yarn. And now to see
Mhm.
the innovation in the industry itself, where we're now on equal footing with the knitting industry, and now the men are coming in and innovating it even further and stretching the boundaries. Um,
Yes.
it shows that we're not the, excuse my French, bastard stepchild of knitting anymore. It is an art in and of itself,
We
and
have been
there,
the redheaded stepchild for a long time.
very much so. It's why when you're on a train crocheting, someone asks you if you're knitting or what you're knitting. It's like, no, dude, hook,
Yeah.
crochet, 2 needles, knitting.
Yeah.
Get a grip here. Um,
Yeah.
but now it's there's so much innovation in the fiber art industry of crochet that men are stepping into that space and doing things like, I mean, who would have thought of amigurumi? I mean, that's something that women used to do to make toys for their kids. You used to do that, right? That was how you, when your kids were little, and to
I
see
still
them
do. I
doing,
still design on me.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this grandchild is going to have plenty of things to play with. Um, but home decor,
Yes, you will.
men have their own spaces
Yeah.
to live in.
Oh,
They
yeah.
want to decorate them the way they want.
Mhm.
Wall hangings,
Mhm.
we haven't talked about those, blankets, pillows, wall hangings,
Mhm.
um, things like that. I mean, I just think they bring so much innovation and, um, intuition to the industry that we don't have, and it just broadens the possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with you completely as far as it's taken a long time for of all of the crochet world to kind of catch up with where the knitting world is at, because I remember back in the early 2000s when Crochetville got started on the internet, and that was the first crochet like gathering place online for all crocheters.
Mhm.
And we were doing you could sign up for things like swaps and make a toy for somebody else's kid and they would make a toy for your kid kind of thing. Well, I did one of those and I had this little girl and this little boy to make something for, and that's actually where my first toy bag came from, was because I couldn't find anything in a crochet
Mm-mm.
pattern for little
Mm-mm.
boys. Everything
Mm-mm.
was for little girls. And if it was
Yeah.
made for a little boy, it was some creepy clown or something weird. Or they wanted you to make him a teddy bear. Whoop-de-doo. What are you gonna do with a teddy bear? The little boys wanna play. And
Yeah, they
so my first toy bag was actually my rocket ship with astronauts and aliens, because this little boy loved space and there was nothing. There was nothing for space. And
yeah,
now you
yeah.
can go on Red Heart and Lion Brand and all these places,
Mhm.
and they've got people who have designed toys, and like it's come so far.
It really has. And I think that's what male designers bring to the table. They just have a unique perspective. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Alrighty. Well, we are almost to the end, so we're going to ask the last question of the day: is representation, and why does it matter? Why are we
Mhm.
making a big deal out of the fact that men are in the crochet world? Because we're talking about the significance of men, and they do play a significant part in the crochet world, as far as they're contributing to a new and um you, Deb, have a note on the bottom of here, which I want to say. I'm going to steal your line.
Okay.
Um, male male crochet designers are contributing to the evolution of crochet by bringing their unique styles and innovative ideas to the craft. Their work is helping to challenge stereotypes and expand the possibilities of what can be created with crochet. And it's
Yep.
not that they're new necessarily. It's like a renaissance almost,
I
where
think so.
they're coming back to it.
Yeah, I think so. And now it's, it's functional like it used to be, but now it's
Mhm.
also fashionable and it's also
Yeah.
stretching the boundaries of what's possible.
Yes.
We, and just opening up, there's so many things you can do with crochet and not enough time in the day to do them
Mhm.
all. And I think it's just so
Mhm.
much fun to see what they come up with. One of the things that we hadn't mentioned is that a fair number of these current male crocheters came out of a tradition of yarn bombing or sculpting or
Yeah.
art installations, and they
Yeah.
bring that's a completely different perspective as well,
Mhm.
and they
Mhm.
bring that into what they're designing for the home, for men,
Right.
for women, and you're seeing crochet show up on the runway, on the fashion runway
Mhm.
now. Granny squares, hallelujah, they are coming back, baby, in
They're
force,
making their way back.
and they're not your granny's granny. It's
No,
great.
definitely not. And, something else that I wanted to say about why it's so important for all of this to kind of be coming back is because, um, they are it's kind of like ooh, okay, we have another question, and we will get to this in just a second, but I'm gonna pop it up here. Um, everybody can kinda get over their panties, like, you and I are constantly talking about how, and I meant to say panties in a wad, but we're we're always talking about mental health and how much crochet can add
Mhm,
to and help with, and very much in the 2020 era, it became like girls were very open about the fact that hey, we're using our crafts, we're using bread
mhm.
making, we're using baking, we're using all of these things to help us function in this really stressful time. We forget that men also needed those same creative outlets,
They do.
and there are actually people who they don't talk about it, they're not quite as open about it, and there's one that found, and I can't find him anywhere else. Hang on, I gotta find him on my list. Eric Hansen. I can't find any kind of website with him. There's an article that I will link to
Oh,
about him.
you'd mentioned him, yeah.
Yes, and his is he crochets for functioning with ADHD and mental health issues. And for people who are having it helps them to focus and it helps them to
Mhm,
I actually wrote down a note here. Um ADHD and autism and also as a mental health booster uses crochet to help self-regulate and build confidence. And
mhm.
so I mean, there's so much to this that this is just not a just women's thing anymore. This is
Right,
very much an everybody thing.
an
But yes,
everybody thing.
yes. And going back to I've got to go back. Okay. Esther, yes, we will find some YouTube crocheters. Actually, quite a few of the names that we have
Mhm.
mentioned are actually on YouTube. They all have
Yes.
videos. We are going to be putting in our descriptions at least the names, and if we can find a link for you, we will include that information as well, so that you can look up these designers and crocheters and get hooked up with them and follow them. Um,
Right off the bat, the crochet dude does a lot
yeah,
of videos on his channel. That's what I
yes.
mean, it was demonstrating on TV as well. And Mikey has
Hmm.
hundreds of videos, the crochet
Oh,
crowd. He has a
yes.
I'm in awe of his output, just to be honest with you.
I don't know how he does it. I
I don't
swear to
either.
God, his arms have got to be
Yeah.
made of steel.
And he does it because he narrates. He talks while he crochets in
Uh-huh.
the video. So you know he's doing the videos. It's crazy.
Mhm. Mhm. Yep, it's all him, and a lot of the designs are all his,
Yep.
and he just or he does, like he takes recommendations from people, and he'll say, "Is there something that you guys need help with?" And he'll do, like, an instructional video. Um,
Oh,
Carolina
Beck.
says
Yeah.
Male designers are harder to find. You are
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Well, I don't think
Um,
they hang out on social media as much as we do,
I don't
right?
yeah, it seems like they don't. Fiber Spider has good videos. And then Beck said, I'm
Yeah.
autistic and crochet is my special interest. Hyperfixated and have pinched. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. Yeah, I understand. Um, I I am not diagnosed, but I have wondered recently if I am not in the ADD world somewhere because my ability to concentrate is and it kind of always has been. And I never realized how much I bounce from subject to subject until the last year or two. All of a sudden, I am all over the place and I can't concentrate. And like you, I become very hyper fixated on things. And when I am, I'm working great. Boy, things are going well. But I actually have a harder time being hyper fixated than I am random minded. Yes, Arne and Carlos. I follow those guys
Mm,
on Instagram. They are the cutest couple. They live in Norway. Carlos is from Spain. Arne is from Norway, and their specialty is knitting, but I do know that they crochet as well.
I'm gonna write them down. Some
Oh, they are the
great
cutest thing.
suggestions. Thank you so much for all these suggestions. This is
Mhm.
fabulous. What
Absolutely.
was the
And like
one?
we said,
Fiber
we will
spider.
make
I'll do
sure
that one
that in
too.
the description we've got names.
But all I did, sorry to just interject, all I did was
Mm.
go through Instagram I did a Google search for male crochet designers, and this is where I got some
Yeah.
of the people that are on the list. So they're not as hard to find as you might think.
Fire Lake, just because I don't know how you do this, how do you pursue an ADHD diagnosis? Is there testing that you have to go through to
I would
do
think
that?
so.
Okay. Reach out to me, Fire Lake, and tell me how you did it. But other than that, so we've I'm joining late, missed the list. We are going to have
Oh,
um
we
oh the
mentioned
cocky
him.
crocheter. Okay, he does yes, we
Mhm.
did talk about him.
He does. Yeah.
All right, and Nessa has another
Oh,
suggestion.
MDL. All right, I'm
Tunisian
gonna put that one
MDL
down.
crochet. All right, cool.
Fabulous. Thank you.
And we will include in our description later.
We have a long
Yes.
list now, Biz.
So, all right. Well, we've kind of come to the end of this. Yes, we do. Of this week's episode topic, as far as the significance of men in crochet. Make sure that you join us next week. We're gonna do our roundup here as far as like how we end our usual. I feel like we've got a couple of new watchers today.
Yeah.
Um,
Listen, we love
and raise your
having you
hand or
here and
whatever if
love
you're new here.
interacting with you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. But the way that we always end every week is we talk about what we're watching on TV because we first connected with a love of true crime and murder mysteries, and we've kind of branched out into um,
A
everything.
whole lot of stuff.
So,
A
so
whole lot of stuff.
um,
Yes.
what are you currently watching this week? Like, what are you using for wind down time?
Okay. Well, I'm starting to sound like an old broken record here. This week has been a whole lot of baseball, baseball, and more baseball. So, for those of you who follow us, we're Phillies fans because we live near Philadelphia. And right now, the Phillies are in London. My husband's family
Hmm.
is from England, and so we have relatives over there who are sports fans, and they're thrilled to death that baseball is going to be played in London
Oh, that's
tomorrow.
cool.
Our team has I'm just going to put it out there, the greatest mascot on the planet. The Philly Fanatic, this big green thing is just the most hilarious thing, and I've
He's my
seen videos of
favorite.
him. He tried to be one of the Queen's Guard, the King's Guard. So they actually dressed this monstrous mascot up in a uniform
Oh my
with the
goodness.
hat and everything, and he's trying to stand there, be serious. It's hilarious. You need to look it up. It's just hilarious. So the Phillies are the top, one of the two top teams in the United States right now,
Uh-huh.
right up there with the Yankees, and they are playing in London. So that we watched all weekend. Little League Baseball we watched all week this week, and there's been very little TV going on here because there's a whole lot of baseball going on. Hopefully, I can get back to my regular TV. But Biz, what have you been
When you're
watching
not
other
when
than
you're not doing math, you're doing
oh,
baseball.
math, numbers, spreadsheets? I love it's like Excel, but it's much more user friendly. I use the Apple version of spreadsheets, and it's become my best friend this week because I'm a tech editor as well. And I don't grade, but I check grading. And when it gets really wonky, my spreadsheet needs to do some calculations for me.
Y'all are gonna
So,
have to do some magic because this ain't working.
yep. What about you, Biz? What have you been watching?
I have been on a bad sci-fi movie kick lately.
Ruh-roh.
Um, I I have a tendency to go on subjects. You know, I mean, I'm either all trash reality TV or I'm all murder shows or I'm so right now I'm all bad sci-fi movies. And there was one of them I started. Can't even remember the name of it. It was not even on for 2 minutes, and I was like, "This has got to go." And you know, it's got to be really, really bad if I can't like just make it through the first 10 minutes because a lot of
Yeah.
times after the first 10 minutes or so, it becomes livable. You know, it's not a good movie, but it's not horrible. But this one was so bad. And there are some of them like, this has gotta be your first acting gig. It has to be. Just I don't know if that's where everybody breaks in for their first role as in sci-fi
Oh
because they
gosh,
don't
I
have high
hope not.
expectations or what, but Birdemic.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Beck says
no, I have not
Birdemic.
seen what is that?
It made me laugh so hard, it's awful. You know, sometimes that's what you have to do is watch something that's so bad that it's funny instead of you just can't take it seriously.
What streaming device have you been watching it on? I can look it up later, because I think the only one I don't have access to right now is Netflix and possibly Disney Plus, but they have quite a wide variety. Which isn't this crazy? Like we used to have cable, and all the stations were there, and you paid upgrade for the stations extra that you wanted to see,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it was streaming, and you didn't have to pay extra for anything, and now you have to pay extra. We're back to cable. So, oh well.
You know, there was actually a news story on the last day or 2 about that exact same thing.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, so it's
exactly what you just
everybody's
said.
pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But other than that, just
Uh,
reality cooking shows with my husband because he doesn't want to watch the stupid sci-fi movies that I watch. So,
oh
so
my gosh.
we do his
I have
reality
to get
TV.
well, I have to get back in and look at some things because I left a couple of seasons of some stuff hanging, so I need to finish those up. But now that the boys are out of school and I
Mhm,
don't do the pickup
mhm.
every Tuesday and Thursday, I have a little bit of time to sit in the afternoon and crochet and watch a little TV.
Oh, that'll be nice. Just kind of bring things down and let it chill out a little bit. Oh, I keep thinking, you and I were talking before we went on camera about how because we always end up having a chit chat before we start. And so before we started, we were talking about how we keep waiting for that. Okay, now I can relax. And 2024 was supposed to be
Oh,
this really
oh,
relaxing movie. Oh, sorry, not movie. Year. It was supposed to be this really relaxing year, and it just seems like we keep waiting for the
oh
relaxing part to
man.
come.
I'm
I
sorry,
just
but
don't think that's
this year is
happening.
just hell on wheels. It's just like we're just I'm rolling down the hill with no brakes right now. Arr! I mean, there's just been so much stuff going on that mama needs a break here. Mama needs to check out a
Yes.
little bit. So
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. So yeah, we're ramping up for a baby in August and a kid moving in.
Your
Okay, here's
train
the
is
good part
about
of
to go
this though.
full speed into the station, darling. It's just gonna
Here's the
whiz
good
right
part of
through.
her moving in though, is she gets to
Oh,
have
yeah?
her husky back that I've had for the last year.
There you go. Scout will no
So
longer be just your responsibility.
no,
Nice.
no.
Nice.
And I love that dog. You know, she's grown on me. I love her to death. The hair is an issue. It looks like a snowstorm in our house all the time. Because she's going
That's the
through a
only
really
time
big
you're gonna
shed
see
right now.
snow in Florida though, isn't
Oh
it?
my god, yeah. But she's going through a huge shed right now. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
go like this and it's a clump of hair every time. So you don't wear anything that matters when you're gonna be around her for any length of time. And other than that, it just, I am looking forward to being able to leave the house without having to worry about her. Because I've been tied to my
Sweet.
house for a year, a full year.
Yeah, yeah. Get out and party.
That's why you guys got stuck with me and having to see me every Fridays because I needed something to do, people.
Well, it had nothing to do with the fact that we're
Now I
friends
know it
and
because we started doing this
decided
month before she came.
I know, I know. No, we're good. We're good.
All right. So, like we said, we'll get those names in the descriptions. If you have any questions, drop questions, reach out to either one of us. We're on social media. We are Busy Crochet and Madam Stitch everywhere. So we both have websites, we both have blogs, yada yada. So if you have any questions about anything, just let us know. And other than that, we're gonna say adieu so that you guys can get on with your Friday and your weekend. And I hope you have an amazing one.
Same, and make sure there's crochet in it.
Absolutely. It's chill out time, baby. Bye.
Bye, everybody.